Welcome to the Story Takes Responsibility podcast, a show for companies, marketing teams, and founders looking to improve their storytelling through video. Make the process easier and feel more confident walking into their marketing plans. Our mission is to add value through our decade-plus experience in making video production more than just videos, but videos with objectives and partnerships with brands that value consistency. Our hope is that this podcast makes you more sustainable and budget-conscious in your marketing efforts. This show will inspire ideas and value, but most importantly, we want you to take action towards better storytelling.
Let's make it happen. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the show. Ross and Josh from Mylan here as always. Again, back to talk about, well, all things storytelling, all things business, all things, honestly, Mylan and how we approach things, but more so to share things with you, to share things, a lot of what we've learned over the years. One of those big things, we're just going to dive straight into it, is the power of referrals. But what happens when that power runs dry? What happens when that runs out? Because a lot of the times when you're first starting out in your creative venture, your business, whatever it may be, of course, you're going to get word of mouth being pretty strong, right? All your friends, all your close, team, whatever it may be, everybody's going to be talking about it. Oh my gosh, they do this great work, they have this great product, whatever it may be. And at some point, that more one-to-one, quote-unquote, marketing is going to kind of run dry. At some point, those referrals might run out because just as your business and you evolve and grow and change, your customer base, your potential client base, whether you've worked with them already or you potentially might, whatever it may be, those are also going to change, evolve, and grow. And sometimes that might mean that they grow past you, right? And so that can kind of leave you with a lot less referrals, a lot less word of mouth floating around. So how can you change and evolve? How can you work in different ways to get new referrals, spark a new method of word of mouth, and change that more like one-to-one word of mouth process into a more, what we kind of say is like a one-to-many marketing approach? There's a lot of different ways we can take this one. I know you've got a lot to say about this one. So when we talk about when referrals run dry, when they run out, what can someone do?
So this one, really more than anything, is like less about digging into our video production or our marketing. And I want this to be one that becomes, self-creation, self-DIY, like starting to get some ideas for like whether we're in this phase or we could be in this phase. This really comes down to proactivity. Like you said, and I relate a lot of this to service-based industries, but this could fall short in many industries. Service-based industries typically start out, and I look at things in layers of 3 all the time. But I kind of look at it as like, most businesses when they start out, it is competing on price. And it's like, oh, I could do the thing better than the other competitor or something like that. So they're thinking kind of transactional in the beginning. They're competing on price. They're trying to position themselves that way. But then, they really love this thing most of the time, and it very quickly evolves into the experience. So that's the place that a lot of businesses kind of live in. It's like they're creating this amazing experience. That's the incubator for starting to create that word of mouth referral. I don't want people referring you because you're the cheapest in town. I want people referring you because you're the best at your process, or you make people, so much better than the competition. You've differentiated yourself through that process, through that experience. And the third layer of that is transformation. So if you've taken someone through your experience, through your service, through your process, and you've made them better in that creates a real emotional feeling. And that's going to take someone from, being, a spectator to a diehard fan and a person who advocates for you time and time again. That's the root of creating great referrals. It's understanding that experience or that transformation and the impact that your business is actually creating. So in the beginning, that's beautiful. That's wonderful. You have this snowball effect of like, hey, have you went down to so-and-so's? Have you checked out so-and-so's? It made this impact, or this was great, or this was what was amazing about it. So you have all these people talking about it. And there's this whole 4 to 7 years before this really starts to run out a lot of the times on the average. A couple of like psychological things with this is like, if you don't innovate, if you're innovating constantly and you're updating people and educating them, you start to combat this a little bit more. But what I would advise is at the simplest level is being a little proactive with this. So we always talk about, client testimonials or profitable testimonials. This is something you can do yourself, like just literally asking for feedback. So if you make an impact on Tony over here and Tony had a great experience through your business and Tony's saying, I loved your business, you did all these things, you listened to me, you took care of me, no one's ever taken care of me this way. Get that. gather that, make a Google form, make, something that collects that data, some prompted questions. We have a whole guide on this that you can find in the show notes or in the links here to be able to get to that. And that kind of infuses this idea that you can kind of do it yourself. But at the end of the day, a big piece of this is just kind of understanding how to guide that conversation. And then once you have that, that can go into a Google review. That helps your SEO, all that sort of stuff. But also, you could design that into your own personal content. Maybe you have an internal design team. Maybe you have a graphic designer. Maybe it's hiring us. Maybe it's turning this into film. Whatever the case may be, you can take that and you can turn that into your own marketing material. A simple screenshot can go a long way. So it's user generated in that sense. Having that approval, having that ability to use that and highlight and share, this is our amazing customer, Tony. Here's how we treated Tony. That's starting to influence and build trust in small, super safe DIY ways. Taking that to video, that's even better because we're really animating that. We're really connecting with someone in that process. But more than anything, it's what you said in the beginning is when we're going one-to-one, this is like, hey, Tony's coming to shop. Here's what we're about. Here's our passion. Here's our process. Let me take you through this. That's one-to-one. But when we start to think about one-to-many, it's simply taking that story and being like, Tony, we really value you as a customer for these reasons. We would love to get your testimony, your review, and we'd like to be able to share that to meet more Tonys, to meet more people like you. So it's looking at it from vetting, and it's not manipulation or using, but it's helping to see, Tony, you're a valuable part of our ecosystem. We want to find more of you, and that happens by one-to-many. We love all the referrals that you're giving us, but we'd like to be able to market this and be able to use this well beyond you're going to need me, whether you're going to be working with me for a year or 20 years. Doesn't matter. We need to start thinking proactively with marketing and taking these bite-sized chunks at this.
So let's dig into that and break it down a little bit more. How can someone take this method of, I don't know what I'll call emotional storytelling when it comes to testimonies and stuff like that? How can we both take that and then also turn it into things and build our own lead magnets? So if we're running out of referrals, people aren't talking as much as they were, maybe the hype has died down. Like it always does, folks. We have to admit the hype, it'll be up there, and it's also going to go away. Momentum comes and goes. So we've lost those referrals. The word of mouth has kind of died down a little bit. We maybe got caught in that referral death trap where it was just like, oh my gosh, this is so great. And the moment it stops working as well as it was, we're a little bit lost. So you talked a lot about maybe gathering some testimonies, stuff that you can do yourself, or of course, hire people like us to come in and help create for you. But let's talk about those things. How do we take those emotional storytelling elements to educate, entertain, whatever it may be about who we are and what we do? How can we turn those into some lead magnets to get some new freaking leads?
Yeah, I think the first part of that is sitting with that feeling, because whether you've experienced this or not, there's usually always some point in time where it's like there's this frustration or there's this kind of hurt of like, why aren't things working? Like it worked at this point, but it's not working now. That's those moments of change. I think we're all really hesitant to change because what we were doing before was working and it's not now. The reality is we have to evolve, we have to adapt, we have to innovate, not because, like it's the cool thing to do, but because your audience wants more, and to meet more, to meet the right people, we have to be willing to adapt, pivot, or evolve. I mean, whether it's COVID, whether it's an economic crisis, this is how you get past this, is through, storytelling, understanding like people do make decisions based less on logic and it's more on emotion. That's where emotional storytelling really enters the realm. This isn't to say like we need to make someone cry or anything like that. It's just to mean that we're tugging at the heartstrings. Like, what is the thing that really influences me to buy a candy bar when I'm at the checkout? I'll be honest, I never look at the price. I'm just like, the Butterfinger looks pretty good. I want the Butterfinger today because the Butterfinger is going to make me feel good in this situation. It's like there's no like, oh, it's $2.39. Maybe I better go down to the gas station down the road and see if I can get it for cheaper. No, I don't care. I want it now. It's convenient. This is on my time. When we look at storytelling, it's the same way. Let's think about what someone needs to hear to make a decision. Is it that they're going to focus on the factual information? That might play a role. I'm not saying we need to throw logic to the side, but we need to lead with what is the thing that people feel. So if you provide a service, like I'll use air conditioning or heat. It's like, that's a need. Like if it's too hot in your house and you're uncomfortable and your AC is broken, you're going to get that fixed because you're just uncomfortable. You're not necessarily thinking, first you're thinking, I need to get this solved because my kids, or I'm uncomfortable, or I can't work in this, or whatever cause and effect that has. So I need to get this solved. That's the top priority. Price will come into the equation later. I'm not saying that's to be ignored, but I think when we can kind of highlight and be like, okay, how do you do that service super well? Maybe you're uniquely fast at it, or you have more techs in the industry, or you're just able to diagnose significantly faster, or you have this unique warehouse that has all these parts on staff instead of having to order it because everything's in back order in this day and age. That then suddenly becomes a unique selling point, a unique point in your business, and something to highlight where that idea comes from, why you have empathy for your customer, how that made a difference on a customer's life. That's emotional storytelling that kind of tugs on the heartstrings first, helps meet someone with the problem that they have, versus the inverse of just like, hey, come down to my business and I sell, this or that, or we do this thing. And it's just like, okay, sure. You and everyone else. Differentiate. Tell a story. Use that story. Then we can start to facilitate that into a lead magnet or into advertisement or into different strategies or places to kind of strengthen those marketing efforts and to recharge that referral system. It's like thinking about what's the main thing you want someone to do. Most service-based industries, like, I just need to get someone on a phone call. So, okay, how do we make a piece of content or use these pieces of content to move people towards that direction, 1 degree at a time?
So let's talk a little bit of details surrounding those lead magnets. If somebody's listening to this, they hear us saying these things. Okay, they say to create some lead magnets, I need some emotional storytelling. I need to gather some testimonies, whatever it may be. Okay, I need to do some work because people aren't referring me as much as they used to. What is a lead magnet, and what are some forms of a lead magnet that someone can make?
This is, I think most businesses are up to speed on this, but, where I'm kind of seeing the shortage at and who's going to get a lot of value out of this is the business who's maybe a little bit newer into this. That's just like, I'm feeling really overwhelmed by this whole idea of marketing in general. Sure, make the content, but I think a lot of the times it's looking at how many views or likes or whatever on social media. When I look at companies, it's having a website that becomes a tool, and that's where a lead magnet really comes into play. So the lead magnet is the value that you're giving out there, on the front end to kind of lead someone into your funnel or into your sales journey, as I like to refer to give them value throughout the way, to earn more trust and to add value consistently over time. So don't make the lead magnet if it's just to simply get someone on the newsletter to just bombard them with sale after sale after sale. It's to take them on a journey. So can you share multiple testimonies? Can you share multiple pieces of content? Can you highlight your process throughout the way? And these are all things that you can do yourself, that can be done through copy, that can be done through expression. It's sitting with yourself and identifying some of these areas. So for us, looking at our side of things, it's like profitable testimonies is something we're super passionate about. We give that away all the time because it is the starting point for having more successful marketing. That's what we're talking about right now, is like recharging that referral process is really about helping people understand the difference between a review and a profitable testimony. That's kind of like taking that one-to-many approach. So for us, it's like we literally have a lead magnet that's like, okay, right now, you might not be ready for a video or a photo project or anything of that nature. But what you might be ready for is just understanding marketing a little bit better, understanding storytelling a little bit better. So, okay, go to our website, check out that lead magnet, click on that, go through the process, learn the process, understand how to guide that, have the confidence to now walk through that. And then we're going to keep giving you added value time and time again. So this, again, starts to combat that idea of running out of referrals, because if you're counting on the one-to-one, or like, let's just even say you have one employee that's fantastic at their job and then they leave, what effect does that have on your business? So instead, if you have all these tools that help to support and share the same messaging, and you have a funnel that walks someone through and they get to keep interacting with you over and over again, now you have control over your audience. And it's not to be able to just sell to them constantly, but it's to add value. So at the right time, they can make the right decision. And that decision is you, because you've added the value. You've stayed top of mind. And now you don't have this referral problem anymore. Video, photo, do it yourself. You can get really creative with this. This can get really overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be overwhelming. It's taking a few things, tweaking it, and making sure that you're just coming from the right place. It's adding value.
I love it. So before we officially wrap this episode up, let's just ball everything up. One big piece of advice, one final bits and pieces that you want to leave somebody with. If they're listening to this right now, they've ran out of referrals, or maybe they're just not even getting them in the first place. What is it that you're sharing with that person? Small, bite-sized pieces, the thing that you want them to, when they take their headphones out, they put them down, they turn this podcast episode off. What is it you want them to have walked away with?
I'm going to say to just ask the question, are you right now experiencing this? Are you running out of referrals? Is this something you're experiencing right now? Or are you in one of those amazing phases where it is snowballing? If you're in that snowball phase, the last thing we want to do, the analogy I always use in business is like, a lot of times you work really hard to pedal up that hill to get some momentum going, and then you get to coast down it. When you're in that snowball phase, it's because it's the momentum, you can kind of coast a little bit. The worst part is getting down to the bottom. So if we're looking at this analogy as like, do we want to go all the way to the bottom, or can we make the bottom a little bit lower, or a little bit proactive, or continue to coast for a long period of time, or make it a little bit easier rather than these ups and downs? So just asking yourself the question is like, are we struggling with this referral thing right now? Is it something that's going really great with us? If it is going really great, start collecting that data. Start collecting some of those conversations, because you might not need it today, but you're going to need it at some point in time to be able to start switching gears into proactive marketing. Maybe you end up hiring a partner. Maybe you end up doing it yourself. But we're going to ask for that data one way or another. So you better have it when the time comes. Start getting proactive with this. It's not waiting until there's a problem to solve it all the time, but it's looking at like what's going really good. Let's capitalize on that. Let's make that a part of our story. Let's make that a part of our marketing efforts, because right now we don't have to market because we're in that snowball phase. So it's just a bonus on top. You're building when you don't even need to build. Whereas I see a lot of businesses that get into this, oh my God, we need customers, and they're reacting too late. And can you survive in that death trap, in that slow period, in that pain point that's really awful? And it's like you really are hesitant to do anything. You're indecisive.
Beautiful. Well, I would say that's another episode in the books. Anything extra you want to leave anybody with? Anything we didn't cover when it comes to getting referrals?
I'll put it in the comments, but also you can go to mylan.company/starter kit or story starter kit, and you can get the free download to our 3 layers of storytelling, which comes with the profitable testimonies. I highly advise that. That's a free gift. It's something you can go through. It gives you a really good idea of our storytelling framework. So again, if you're trying to be proactive, it's a good place to start, and it gives you that profitable testimony, which is the easiest thing to do yourself.
Perfect. I'm sure that link will, of course, be in the show notes, so you can easily go find, click on, go download it, and maybe start getting yourself some new referrals. But as far as this episode goes, that's all we got. That has been another episode of the show. He's been Josh. I've been Ross. This is for Mylan. And of course, remember, as you're out there collecting all those referrals or looking for them or whatever it is, whatever you're doing, whatever story you're building off of, remember that story, it takes responsibility.
Thanks for joining us on another episode. If you found this episode helpful, share it with a friend, rate and like, and all the things we're supposed to tell you to do. If you want more storytelling tips and perspectives from the Mylan team, please join our newsletter and visit the website at mylan.company. That's MYELIN.company. Additionally, if you need help in your video marketing or want to learn more about our method, please feel free to book a discovery call with our team or email josh@jcp.co. This podcast wouldn't be possible without all the great companies that trust us, challenge our way of thinking, and offer amazing feedback. We love to add value to other companies, leaders, and productions. Being a part of that journey is an honor. This has been the Mylan Video Production Podcast. Story takes responsibility. Until next time.